My name is Lillian Carter, and I grew up in a quiet suburb outside Boston. For as long as I can remember, my family had a way of reminding me that I was the lesser one, not successful enough, not generous enough, not worthy of their approval. I was the quiet one, the reliable one, the one who was always there to fix things in the background. What they never realized was how much I had endured in silence, how much I had given up. They never saw the pieces of myself I had sacrificed to keep the peace, until the day everything changed. The air at Sunday dinner was always thick with things unsaid. We sat around the heavy oak table my great-grandfather had built, a piece of furniture that was supposed to represent family strength, but to me, just felt like a stage for my weekly humiliation. The portraits of ancestors on the dining room walls seemed to look down with the same disappointed expression my father so often wore. My father, Richard, sat at the head of the table, radiating an authority he felt he was owed. My older sister Clara sat across from me, her husband beside her. She was the golden child, the one who had done everything right. The marriage, the kids, the big house. My mother Eleanor and my brother Tom were there to complete the picture of a perfect family that I never quite fit into. I was pushing a piece of dry roast chicken around my plate, hoping to remain invisible. Invisibility was my only defense in this house. If I stayed quiet enough, sometimes they forgot I was there. But not today. My father cleared his throat, a sound that always meant a proclamation was coming. He set down his wine glass, and the small sound echoed in the sudden silence. He leaned back in his chair, a smug smile playing on his lips. It was the smile he wore when he was about to deliver a blow he knew you couldn't dodge. "Lillian," he began, his voice casual, as if commenting on the weather. "Stop clinging to what you have. Your sister's family needs it more. We'll be moving funds from your account." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. I slowly lowered it, the metal making a soft clink against the china plate. A sick feeling churned in my stomach as I looked around the table. My mother was carefully inspecting her napkin. Tom was staring intently at his mashed potatoes. Clara had a faint, triumphant smile on her face. Her husband just looked uncomfortable, but he wouldn't dare say a word. What are you talking about?" I managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. My father laughed. It wasn't a warm sound. It was a sharp, dismissive bark that cut right through me. "Don't play dumb, Lillian. The property tax on Clara's house is due. It's a significant amount. You have the savings, they don't. It's simple family math. But that's my savings," I said, my voice gaining a bit of strength, a flicker of defiance. "I've been saving that for a down payment on my own place." The laughter came again, louder this time. "A down payment on what? Your little apartment is fine for you." He leaned forward, his smile gone, replaced by a look of cold impatience. "We needed it more." He said it so simply, as if my needs, my dreams, my hard work were completely irrelevant. As if my life was just a resource pool for the rest of them to draw from whenever they pleased. My mother finally spoke, her voice soft and chiding, the one she used when I was a child who had done something foolish. "Lillian, dear, don't be so dramatic. It's not taking, it's sharing. It's what families do. You should learn to sacrifice a little. Clara has children to think about, a big house to maintain. It's your duty to help," Clara chimed in, dabbing her lips with her napkin. "Honestly, Lillian, what do you even need all that money for? You don't have a mortgage. You don't have kids. You have no real responsibilities compared to us. It must be nice having all that disposable income." Disposable. My income was disposable. The 60-hour work weeks I put in at the marketing firm, the weekends I spent freelancing to build my savings, the nights I stayed in eating pasta so I could put a little more away each month. All of it was just a cushion for her life, not the foundation for mine. My father drove the point home, his voice booming slightly. "You're lucky to have anything at all. I co-signed the loan for your first car, didn't I? We let you live at home for a year after college. You owe us. You owe your family. This is just a small way of paying it back." They twisted every memory, every fact, into a debt I could never repay. He decisively cut into his chicken, a clear signal that the matter was closed, and the conversation moved on. They started talking about Clara's upcoming vacation to the Bahamas, funded, I now realized, by my emergency fund. I sat in silence, the food on my plate cold and tasteless. I was not a daughter or a sister. I was a utility, an account to be drained. After dinner, I couldn't bear to sit at the table any longer. I stood to clear my plate, needing an escape. "I'll get some water," I murmured. In the kitchen, I leaned against the counter, my hands shaking. From the adjoining living room, I overheard my father talking to my brother. "She took that well, all things considered," Tom said, a note of surprise in his voice. My father let out a short, cynical laugh. "Of course she did. What was she going to do? Lillian doesn't fight back. She never has. That's why we can keep taking from her. She'll be upset for a day, maybe two, and then she'll get over it. She always does." The words hit me like physical blows. It wasn't just a suspicion I held. It was their strategy. It wasn't about keeping the peace. It was about them knowing with absolute certainty that I was weak. I grabbed my purse from the hall table and walked out the front door into the cold night air, their laughter seeming to follow me, echoing in the cold, dark night. That night, alone in my small apartment, my supposed sanctuary, I sat in front of my computer. The glow of the monitor illuminated my face as I stared at my financial records. For hours, I scrolled through years of statements. It was all there in black and white. A slow, steady drain that had been happening for years. It wasn't just this one-time demand. It was a pattern. Monthly transfers labeled "help with bills" that had started small and crept up over time. Large, unexplained withdrawals that, when I cross-referenced the dates, corresponded perfectly with Clara's family vacations, Tom's new car, even my mother's kitchen remodel. They had been using a joint savings account, one I had naively trusted them with, to fund their comfortable lives. All while lying to my face and mocking me for not being as successful as they were. My chest ached with a deep, hollow pain. But underneath the pain, something else was stirring. A cold, hard knot of anger was forming in my gut. This was the breaking point. The years of quiet humiliation and silent acceptance finally curdled into resolve. They thought I didn't fight back. They were about to find out how wrong they were. The next morning, I woke up with a clear, cold purpose. I called a highly rated financial attorney, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Sarah Chen, whose website promised discreet and decisive action. I didn't cry or get emotional. I laid out the facts calmly, showing her the bank statements and explaining the power of attorney I had foolishly signed years ago, when my father had insisted it was for emergencies. She listened without interruption, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she nodded slowly. "Lillian," she said, her voice firm, "this is a classic case of financial abuse, and it stops today." Hearing her say it, validating the word I was afraid to use myself, was like a key turning in a lock. It wasn't helping. It wasn't family. It was abuse. Over the next few hours, we worked swiftly. The power of attorney I had given my parents was revoked. I withdrew the entire remaining balance from the joint savings account and moved it into a new account at a different bank, an account with only my name on it. All the monthly automatic transfers were canceled. Finally, Sarah guided me through the most important step. We took all my significant assets and shifted them into an irrevocable trust. It was a legal fortress. I walked out of her office late that afternoon feeling lighter than I had in years. The calls would come, I knew that. The anger, the guilt trips, the accusations. But for the first time, I was ready for them. The call came 3 days later. It was my mother, her voice sharp as glass. "Lillian, I've been trying to move the money for Clara. The bank said the account is empty. There must be some kind of mistake." "There's no mistake, Mom," I said calmly. There was a pause. "What are you talking about? Where is the money? Your sister needs funds for her house. We'll need $15,000 wired today. This is not a joke, Lillian." "That won't be happening," I replied, my voice as steady as a rock. The line went silent again. Then I heard shuffling, and my father's booming voice came on. "What is the meaning of this? Your mother told me you've locked the accounts. After everything we've done for you, you pull a stunt like this? We needed that money." There it was again, that phrase. But this time it didn't make me feel small. "It's my money, Dad," I said quietly. "Your money?" he roared. "You wouldn't have a dime if it weren't for this family." "You are an ungrateful, selfish child." I closed my eyes. The words were the same ones he had used my whole life, but now they were just noise. They had lost their power. He was shouting at a person who no longer existed. "You are not hanging up on me." "We needed it more," he screamed. I pressed the end call button on my phone. The screen went dark, and the apartment was suddenly silent. For years, my silence had been a sign of submission. Now, it was my greatest weapon. The next weekend was Clara's 35th birthday, held at my parents' sprawling estate. I was, as usual, uninvited. This year it was a relief. While they toasted each other with champagne, reinforcing their perfect family image, I had arranged for a different kind of celebration. I had recently made a massive donation to the local country club's fundraiser for a new youth community center, the largest private donation in its history. One of my conditions was that the announcement would be made during their annual gala, which happened to be the same night as Clara's birthday. At 9 p.m., just as the party speeches would be wrapping up, it began. A deep, echoing bang shook the house, rattling windows and silencing the chatter. Panic would have filled the room as they rushed to the balcony, only to see the sky lit up with a professional-grade fireworks display launched from the country club. As the grand finale lit up the night, a massive electronic display board on the hillside, visible for miles, glowed with a message. The new Carter Community Center, made possible by the generosity of Lillian Carter. In an instant, their world fractured. The money they believed was theirs, the money they felt so entitled to, had been used for something public, something permanent, with my name attached to it forever. Their narrative was broken. News alerts and social media posts began to spread the story, praising my philanthropy. Their private scorn had been utterly eclipsed by my public success. The guests would be whispering, their polite questions a new form of torture for my parents. "Oh, Richard, Eleanor, we had no idea Lillian was so successful. You must be so proud." Proud? They would be choking on their rage. The calls started that night, a relentless barrage from my entire family. "Call me immediately. How could you embarrass us like this? You did this on my birthday? You ruined everything. All that money. You just gave it away?" I read the messages, but I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, not even pity. I didn't answer a single call or reply to a single text. Instead, I stood on the balcony of my new condo, high above the city, and poured myself a glass of wine. My silence was my answer. It denied them the fight they craved, the engagement they needed to reassert control. By refusing to participate, I was telling them in the clearest way possible that they no longer had a role to play in my life. They had underestimated me. They had mistaken my silence for weakness when all along, it was just me waiting for the right moment to find my voice. That was the night I learned the most important lesson. Sometimes the best revenge is not a fight. It's the quiet success they can never touch. It's building a life so full and meaningful on your own terms that their opinions become nothing more than distant, irrelevant noise.